Yes, Casanovians. All right. In this stream, what we're going to talk about is why you must give up on cold approach in 2026 if you've done over 100 approaches. So, I want to kick off this live stream with one of our Entourage members' LinkedIn posts. So, this has inspired this live stream today. If you don't know what the Entourage is my private network for men who've been trained by me and my head coach to become elites at the skill of daytime cold approach in the fastest possible time. So inside the Entourage, we've got entrepreneurs, digital nomads, actors, teachers, business owners, overachieving, high-performing, successful guys with successful careers, all coming together because they want to become elites at the skill of daytime cold approach. We've got other YouTubers in there as well. But anyway, one of our newest Entourage members, he wrote his LinkedIn post, and I was reading it this morning, and I got really inspired by it. So I want to share the LinkedIn post, and then I'm going to explain how it relates to you getting incredible results from cold approach in 2026. And when I'm talking about results from cold approach, I mean conversations which are converting into dates and beyond, okay? So let me read this post and we'll get balls deep into the practical, tangible value. And yeah, if you're somebody who wants to become elite at the skill of daytime cold approach in 2026, then consider subscribing to the channel, drop the live stream a like. Okay, so here's the post. He writes, sometimes the best option is to give up. Sometimes we're trapped trying the same process over and over, hoping something will change. Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. When you give up, something magical happens. You start to see what works, what doesn't, and you couldn't see when your head was down grinding. Giving up isn't quitting on the mission, it's quitting the wrong approach. So that's what I want to speak to you about in this live stream. Not about giving up on cold approach entirely, but giving up on what's not currently working. Because a lot of guys fall into this trap. Once they've done their first 100 daytime approaches, they think that the thing that gets you here will get you there. But actually, it requires a different set of skills, character traits, belief systems. Going from 0 to 100 approaches, it's a lot different compared to going to 100 to 200 and beyond, okay? So what I want to do in this stream is just give you practical things that you can start doing, because if you're somebody right now, you've done over 100 approaches, remember, the whole point of those first 100 approaches is to get you over that initial feeling of resistance, to make peace with this thing that we call approach anxiety. It's just to get points on the board, right? You're just swinging the bat, you're aiming for the fences. Maybe you strike out every time, maybe you get lucky, you hit a few home runs. For those first 100 approaches that you do, the reps are the rewards, okay? But once you've done over 100 approaches, it's no longer counting the approaches, it's making the approaches count. And this is where a lot of guys get stuck. And it's why a lot of guys don't get the results that they want from daytime cold approach. So we're going to fix that today. And for those of you who don't know, I've just launched a free school community which gives you over 60 hours of my best cold approach content. So the best cold approach content that has ever been produced, I'm giving it all away for free inside my free school community. So if this is the year for you that you want to get rid of the dating apps, get away from the nightclubs, stop trying to shag Susie or yo Susie through your social circle, then first link below this video, you can access over 60 hours of the best cold approach content that's ever been produced, and you can get it completely free. So first link below this video if you want to go balls deep in cold approach this year. So the question that we want to be asking ourselves is not what will make me more successful with women, but what is preventing me from being more successful with women. So The first thing that I want to speak about is something that I struggled with a lot when I was first learning cold approach. And the first thing that I had to give up was judging my interactions too early. Okay? I don't know if this happens to you, but I had a really bad habit when I was first learning cold approach that if the woman wasn't giving me my desired reaction early in the conversation, I'd start to get in my head. I'd start to think, oh, this approach is not going anywhere. She's not a fuck yes girl. And it's almost like women could feel the self-evaluation. They could feel I wasn't fully present with them in the moment. And it prevented me from connecting with women on this deep emotional level. So the first thing that I would suggest that you give up, if this has resonated with you, is don't judge your conversations until they've finished. Don't evaluate in the moment, oh, how am I doing? Is she enjoying it? Is this conversation going well? The best litmus test I can give you is if you're speaking with a girl and she's still there, she's still standing looking at you, she is engaged in the conversation, maybe she's even asked you a question or two, just assume it's a green light. Assume she's enjoying it. And really you want to listen to her actions rather than her words. If she's like looking away, if she's checking a phone, if she's giving one-word answers, maybe she's not into it. But if she's still there and she's looking at you and she is engaged, then just take that as a green light to continue the conversation, because sometimes what happens is we forget this is not an everyday occurrence for these women. All right, once you've done over 100 approaches, you start to get desensitized to the process of approaching. You're most likely going out into your city center with the intention of approaching. So oftentimes, you've already experienced the moment in advance. But for the women, no woman walks out of the house today thinking, oh, I'm going to have a cold approach conversation. I better be mentally prepared for it. So sometimes the girls who you're speaking with, they just need warming up to the idea of having a cold approach conversation. Sometimes you just need to hold their hand through the conversation, and they might be nervous. They might not be feeling their best right now. Maybe she just came out the gym and she's sweaty and she feels as though she smells. And it's got nothing to do with you, everything to do with her. And something that I would recommend you start doing, if you've done over 100 approaches, you're not happy with the results at the moment, something that was a game changer for me was learning to delay the compliment for around 30 to 40 seconds. Because the problem with a lot of guys who cold approach is they almost become these one-trick ponies, where if you're anything like me, I learned the London day game model when I first started cold approach 5 years ago. And I learned to just go direct, right? Walk over to women, give them a compliment immediately. And that's great. For the first 100 approaches that you do, it'll teach you, or it'll help you remove your closet heterosexuality, right? Walking over to 100 women and telling them exactly what you want, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, that is a modern day rite of passage. I think most men today are scared. They are hiding their balls. Their masculinity has been diluted by shame, culture, media, maybe their upbringing. So for the first 100 approaches that you do, completely fine to just rep it out and give women strong, hard-hitting compliments. But remember at the start of the stream, I explained the thing that get you here won't get you there. So something that I started doing, once I'd overcome that initial resistance to approach, I started delaying the compliment. And what I found was these women who, they might be a little bit more reserved, they might have not been expecting to be approached today. Sometimes these women just need to get socially warmed up to you first in order for them to connect with you, in order for them to warm up to the idea of having a cold approach conversation. Sometimes they just need to get a little bit socially warmed up to you. So I'll give you a really great thing that anybody can start doing once you've done over 100 approaches. This works really well. I was speaking with one of my clients the other day, and he sent me one of his audio recordings where he did this, because this is something that I get all of my clients to do, and this is how we turn decades into days. Because when my clients go out there into the field, I get them to send me audio recordings. And then what they do is they send their audio recordings into our private WhatsApp accountability chat. And they get feedback, not just from me, but the 30 other guys inside the entourage. So effectively, it's like having 30 coaches in your back pocket at all times. This is why we get the best results in the industry. But one of our clients, he sent me this voice message the other day, and he approached this Japanese woman in Germany. And rather than going in there, bulldozing in with a strong, hard-hitting compliment, he essentially gave a soft compliment before the strong compliment. So he walked over and he essentially complimented the woman on her walk first. All right, so let's say I was doing this, right? Let's say I see a beautiful woman walking past me on the street. So maybe I'll go over. I'll be like, yo, excuse me, do you speak English? Amazing. Listen, your walk, like you had this crazy, elegant walk going on. I'm assuming you're from Italy or somewhere like that. But I feel as though even the women in Italy, they probably couldn't compete with that red carpet walk that you've got going on right now. What's your name? That's actually a really good thing to say to women as well. If you're getting a little bit bored with the whole, you look amazing, you look great, you look beautiful, you can compliment women on the way that they walk. I think that shows a more improved attention to detail. And I got it from Torero. He used to describe having the red carpet walk. But he used to describe that in a way that he wanted his students to walk. Somebody's at the door. I'm just on a call. I'll be 20 minutes. So I think someone's come to fix the shit. You know, the bum gun. Yeah, the bum gun in the toilet. It started to leak. So someone's just come round to fix it. But I explained to them that I was going to be on a call, so they're just going to have to wait for now. But when I go over, if you can explain the red carpet walk, like Torero used to do it, he used to use it as a way to describe to his students how they can walk more confident through the streets. But you can actually compliment women on the way that they walk. You can say, yo, I just saw you had this crazy elegant walk. You had the red carpet walk. I appreciate confident women. What's your name? Where are you from? And then once you've delivered more of this soft compliment, and now she started to get socially warmed up to you, you can then follow that up with, well, listen, you look incredible. So this is a good thing that you can start to practice. You don't always need to go in and give a strong, hard-hitting, direct compliment straight away, because the problem with going direct all of the time, especially with women who they're not in the market for it right now, you essentially force them to make a decision, right? So she might like you, but she might not be warmed up enough to reciprocate your advance. So if you can learn to delay the compliment or give a soft compliment first, you might compliment her on her walk or on her energy. That's a great thing to compliment as well. Like you can walk over and just say, listen, there was just something about you that caught my attention. I don't know what it was, but I don't know if you ever see people walking around the street sometimes and they've just got something about them. Like there's just like there's an energy that radiates from them. And my mum always said to me, Christian, if nobody ever makes a first move, nothing will ever get done. So I felt compelled to come over here and start a conversation. What's your name? Susie. Oi, oi, Susie. Well, listen, you look incredible. So do you see what we're doing? You can get them more warmed up to you first, more socially warmed up. And then when the compliment does come out, then she's ready for it. So sometimes, once you've done over 100 approaches, you can get stuck in this pattern of go direct, hard-hitting compliment. But I would urge you to start giving up on that strategy and instead delay the compliment or focus on complimenting women, something more specific, something they don't hear every day. It might be their walk, it might be their energy. Maybe you made eye contact with a woman as she walked past you. This happened the other day, or the other week. One of our entourage guys, he was approaching in London, and it was the end of his session, and he saw this girl who walked past him, and they made crazy eye contact, and he circled back round, he approached her. Rather than saying, hey, excuse me, I just saw you, you look amazing, he said, hey, we had a moment back there. And she was like, yeah, we did. I love this, right? Like once you've done over 100 approaches, you can start to get more creative. You can start to have more of these romantic moments where you might make eye contact with a girl as she walks past you. So you don't necessarily have to say, hi, excuse me, do you speak English? You look amazing. You could say, hey, we had a moment back there. And just that one sentence, effectively the close had already happened by this point because his open was so strong, there was polarity, and also it felt situational as well, right? I think this is another problem. Once you've done a lot of approaches, your approaches can start to feel robotic. They can start to feel a little bit spammy. And I think energetically, the women can start to pick up on it. Oh, like this guy, he's just spraying and praying. Do you know what I mean? Just like throwing shit out there, saying the same shit to every girl. So if you can take a moment to ask yourself, right, what could I say to this woman? Maybe it is a compliment on something that's caught your attention about her. It might be an item of clothing. It might be her energy. It might be her walk. You might have made eye contact and you can say, hey, we just had a moment back there. Or something that I love to do, if I'm in that state of godly frequency, and I've got in-field examples on my channel of me doing this, if I walk past a girl and we have crazy eye contact and I'm just in that godly frequency state where I can experience success in advance, and it's the removal of doubt, I'll just walk over and be like, hey, excuse me, I saw you checking me out back there. I'm not a piece of meat, you know. I've got feelings and shit. By the way, you look insane. So like, you can use these moments to your advantage. And once you have done over 100 approaches, you'll learn about yourself in a cold approach session, right? So you'll learn how you can overcome objections, how you can deal with the resistance, how you can have longer conversations. Because oftentimes, when I read out this LinkedIn post about giving up on what's not working, the thing that I urge my clients to do, and something that I urge you to do as well, is when you start recording the audio of your conversations, it's a huge game changer. Because a lot of guys, they think they're having long conversations. They think they're having conversations where they're emotionally connecting with these women. But if you listen back to the audio recordings, it might be a 60-second conversation where they were speaking the language of logic. So something else that I would urge you to do, and I've got live streams on this channel which go deeper on this, is give up on having logical surface level shit chat. Okay, the first 100 approaches that you do, it's okay. We're not trying to be William Shakespeare. We're not trying to have these poetic masterpiece verbal bamboozlements. But one of the biggest reasons why women flake is because they didn't feel anything in the conversation, okay? So the way that I teach emotional connection is you want to be explaining the why behind the what. And any guy can do this, even if you are a logical, analytical guy and connecting emotionally with people doesn't come naturally to you. Whenever you explain something, then you want to give the why behind it. Okay, so for example, let's say you're a business owner, okay? So let's say you're running your own business. There are probably reasons why you decided to be a business owner, yeah? And when you're speaking with women, when you tell them what you do, as example, you want to follow it up with the why. Because women don't necessarily give a shit what you're passionate about. They just care that you're passionate about something. And you can connect by the fact that you're both passionate about something. She might be passionate about knitting. You might be passionate about being a business owner. The pastimes don't need to be the same. What matters and what connects people is these universal emotions. Let's say you're speaking with a woman and you tell her that you're a business owner, okay? Rather than just being like, oh yeah, I run my own business, and then leaving it there. You know, a lot of guys are like, oh yeah, I run my own business, what do you do? And now we just get into this very masculine conversation about what I do, what you do. Oh yeah, that's nice. But with women, we want to talk more about the emotion behind it. So you might say something like, yeah, I run my own business. I don't know if you can resonate with this, but from an early age, I always knew I wanted to do my own thing. Like growing up, we didn't have money, and I always saw my family struggle. So I made the decision at 7 years old that my family would never struggle again, and I refused to work a regular job where my income is capped. I wanted to do my own thing, and I wanted to create a legacy where my family never had to struggle anymore. Something like that. I'm just riffing, but do you get what I'm saying? So once you have done over 100 approaches, you want to focus more on making these emotional connections with women. And again, the easiest way to do this is to explain the why behind the what. So I used an example on a previous live stream that one of our guys in the entourage is a teacher. Yeah. And rather than him just saying, oh, yeah, I'm a teacher, I work in this part of the city. Oh, do you know that city? Do you know that part of the city? It's, yeah, I'm a teacher. The reason why, that's a really good way to connect with women emotionally, or just to start getting used to bringing emotions in. The reason why, yeah? The reason why I wanted to become a teacher is when I was at school, I remember I had this one teacher and she didn't give me a crazy amount academically, but the one thing she installed in me was belief. Yeah, out of all the teachers I ever had, she was the only one who told me I was good at something. And now being a teacher, that's the same thing I want to install into my students, because I work in a very deprived area of the city where a lot of these children, they don't have stable homes. They've never had anybody who believes in them. And every time I interact with my students, I try and give them that same impact, because I don't know how far that belief is going to go in their lives. Just the fact that I believe in them right now, that might be the difference between them making it and them not making it. So I don't just see it as a job. I see it as a project. I see it as a way to make the world a better place. That now we're starting to talk about the emotions, and this is what women connect with. And the reason why a lot of guys struggle having or getting the results they want from cold approach is they're not investing enough of their own emotion into the conversation. It doesn't mean, like, creating emotional connections isn't you being emotional and you crying, yeah, you getting all emotional in the conversation. Really, it's just explaining the why behind the what. And the easiest way to bring that into a cold approach conversation is say the reason why, yeah? The reason why I do that, or the reason why I feel this way, or the reason why I like this. And you can practice this in every conversation. It doesn't have to just be with women, remember. The goal for this is to make seduction something you are rather than something that you do. And remember as well, all cold approach is talking to women who you don't know, yeah? And I think another reason why a lot of guys struggle, and something else that I would urge you to start giving up, once you've done those first 100 approaches, you don't have to stay on the streets, okay? Really, your skill of daytime cold approach is best leveraged in warmer social environments. So in environments where people have gone there with the mindset to meet people, because the problem with always approaching on the streets is a lot of times you just don't know who's available, you don't know who's in the market, you don't know what you don't know. But if you've got, one of our guys in the entourage, Joseph, calls it, if you've got a scene in your city, a relative kingdom, a social hotspot where people know you, you become a recurring crossover character there. So it might be a salsa class, it might be a bachata class, it might be a kizomba class, it might be an improv class. For me, my relative kingdom is going to the Muay Thai gym. I've got status there, relative status, because I've been training there for a year. So all the trainers know me, we're on first name basis. I walk through those doors and I feel like a celebrity. They all greet me, and other people who go to that gym, new people, they look at me and they think, fuck, this guy's some god, he must have had loads of fights. I'm like, dude, I'm still shit. But that relative kingdom is a superpower. So if you learn the hardest social skill on the street, which is daytime cold approach, you don't have to stay on the streets, right? The streets are almost like your dojo. They are the training ground. They will give you everything you need to become elite at the skill. But you don't have to stay on the streets. And you don't have to stay in the same city, going out the same time every single day. This is why once you have done over 100 approaches, I would urge you to go to a new location. It doesn't have to be far away. You could go to a different part of your country. But what I noticed for myself is my results started to explode when I left the UK. Yes, you can leverage the foreign factor. You can be more exotic. You can leverage rarity. This is why one of my most famous clients at this point, Ephraim, he did his coaching with me in Warsaw, Poland. And in Warsaw, Ephraim was one of the few black guys there. And he thought this was going to be a problem for him. He was like, dude, the women in Poland, they're not going to like me because I'm black. This is going to affect my results. I'm like, no, dude. The women in Poland are going to love you because you're black. They don't see guys like you every day. So you are a rarity out here. The reason why gold is considered valuable is because it's rare, okay? Scarcity leverages value. So if you can position yourself in environments where you are rare, for example, when I went from Leeds to Rio de Janeiro, my closing percentage was so much better in Rio because I was rare. I could leverage the foreign factor. I'd also learned Portuguese as well. So a lot of guys get stuck in the same thing. A lot of guys get stuck in the same city, approaching the same type of girls at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little bit of novelty to break you out that routine. If you're based in Europe right now, there's so many great places you can go. Like, especially when the better weather starts coming. Krakow, Lisbon, Barcelona, Milan. These are just a few of my favorite places. But I think that a lot of guys get stuck in their ways and they think that, oh, it can only be cold approach if it's on Oxford Street at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. No, not really. So the main things to take away there are give up on having these surface level logical conversations. Start connecting with women on a deeper emotional level. All the content in the free school community, it goes a lot deeper on all of this. There is in-field demonstrations. There's me coaching clients in person. There is deep dives on overcoming rejection, how to actually have conversations that convert into dates, how to get your first date from daytime call approach. It's all in that free school community. First link below this video. So we spoke about delaying the compliment as well. That's like a really, I think if there's one thing you take away from this stream, start experimenting with that. Start experimenting with delaying the compliment, allowing the girl to get socially warmed up to you first. And you'll notice when you start doing that, you'll have more conversations which go on for longer. The conversions will most likely be better. But also, the thing that a lot of guys struggle with is when it comes to texting these women, right? Because you might have done a lot of approaches, you might got a lot of numbers, but you find that either the numbers are not responding or the numbers are not converting into dates. One of the more advanced tactics that our guys in the entourage are deploying is they don't even text girls anymore. They actually use phone calls. So one of our youngest members, Luke, he was a person who started to popularize this inside the entourage. Now what he does, rather than getting girls' numbers and texting them, he just says during the conversation, I'm gonna call you. And what that does is it puts him into this rarefied realm of men, because not only has he got the balls to approach these women stone cold sober during the day, but now the audacious motherfucker is like, yeah, I'm gonna call you, make sure you're available at this time. The girls are just blown away by the balls, like, fucking hell, who is this guy? If a phone call feels too much for you right now, then start sending voice messages to the girls that you meet. Because a lot of times what guys do is they meet a girl and they just send a very generic text. It's like, hey, Ella, great meeting you earlier. How was the rest of your day? Now, yeah, if your approach is solid and you've seeded the idea of the date during the conversation, you've built emotional investment, then sure, you can probably get away with that. But again, if you don't have the audio recordings of these conversations, it's very difficult to pinpoint what's actually going wrong. But the best thing you can do is, rather than texting with these generic opening messages, like with the written word, send voice messages instead, which contain a callback reference to the original conversation. The beautiful thing about sending voice messages as well, which nobody realizes, is the girl has to listen to the voice message in order to discover the content of the message. If you're just sending the written word, on most phones these days, people can just see previews. So sending a voice message, it adds a layer of mystery, right? She has to listen to the message. She can't see a preview of it. So when you're sending voice messages, and by the way, inside my free school community, I've got a full deep dive on how to send voice messages with girls who you've just met that convert into dates. And I use 2 or 3 examples of women that I went on dates with back when I was in the UK using this, right? So this was working like whatever, 3 or 4 years ago. It still works today as well. So sending voice messages, and something that I would suggest, if you feel resistant to sending voice messages right now, because I understand this, I work with a lot of guys and sending voice messages is not something they're used to. What I say to my guys is just start sending voice messages to everybody, because what sending voice messages will allow you to do as well, you'll maintain this social flow state. Yeah, so if you're sending voice messages, especially if you're out there approaching, and maybe it's been 20 minutes in between approaches, just start pinging voice messages out to people. This is what our guys do inside the Entourage. They'll send voice message updates in their sessions. They'll send video messages, like social freedom videos of them in their city center. Like yesterday, it was Saturday, so most of the guys in the Entourage, that's like game day. So the chat was flooded with wins, audio recordings, social freedom videos. And it gives you accountability as well. Like if you're sending voice messages about how your session's been, solo cold approach is a brutal, lonely game, right? Doing your first 100 approaches solo, completely fine. But I think that once you have got over 100 approaches and you're not getting the results that you want, for me, it's time to start surrounding yourself with guys who are further ahead than you. That's why I created the Entourage. That's why 6 months after I started cold approach, I started getting coached because I understood I didn't know what I didn't know. I understood I wasn't going to become elite at the skill if I wasn't surrounding myself with guys who were better than me. So I think a big reason why a lot of guys stay stuck is their egos are too high. With any other skill, like learning a language, building a business, learning some form of martial arts, you ain't just watching YouTube videos and hoping for the best. Most likely, if you want to become proficient in a language, you will hire a tutor. You might even go and live in that particular country. You might even get a job in that place, and it gives you even more accountability. Like some of our guys in the Entourage, they are learning languages, and then they'll spend time in those countries, and they'll cold approach in that language. That's what I did when I went over to Brazil. I just learned all of my cold approach phrases in Portuguese. And I found that doing cold approach in a faraway location, it helped me integrate into the culture more. Because I'm like, right, I'm doing the hardest social skill on the planet in a different language, in a different culture, in a different country. But I also think as well, going to places where socializing is normal, that will also help you skyrocket things. Because when I was in Brazil, like I gave up on the current reality that I was living in, right? I didn't want to be based in the UK full time anymore. I found the UK it just became a depressing culture for me. I always found it's this crabs in the bucket mentality where people want to see you do well, they don't want to see you do better than them because it holds a mirror up to who they could have been. I still spend time in the UK. The UK is my home, right? I get UK culture. I think the Brits have got the best sense of humor on the fucking planet. But in terms of cold approach, in terms of results, when I went over to Brazil, I was able to observe how the naturals operated because, you know, the guys in Rio or even the guys in Milan, the guys in Italy, they have all the skills associated with cold approach, but they know nothing about this world of cold approach. I used to tell guys in Brazil what I did for a job, and they laughed in my fucking face. Like, dude, we've been doing this shit since diapers. So it's just interesting how culture can change things. But what I would do is I would go to the beaches in Brazil, like Copacabana, Botafogo, and I would just observe how these guys operated. One minute they were playing football, next minute, you know, the ball might have rolled over to a girl and he might have just give her a look or like a comment, or even on the streets, like these guys were just, you know, rolling up to women, just doing a little bit of back and forth. It almost felt like night game in the daytime. It was really great. And just watching how these guys operated, it allowed me to assimilate that into my own personality. Because I do think that a lot of us guys, especially in the West, I think we are carrying a lot of sexual shame. And I think that really comes to the forefront when you start approaching. You start thinking, fuck, why am I finding it so hard to get this woman to stop? Why am I finding it so hard to give her a compliment? Why do I feel weird about going for her phone number? And you realize it's a conditioning. So I think breaking away from that environment, which castrates you of your confidence, and seeing how other people operate, that was one of the biggest game changers for me. Again, you don't need to move somewhere full time, but I think exposing yourself to these extroverted environments, it was a huge game changer. And every country that I visited, they've all given me something back. So yeah, I would say if this live stream has been useful, I go even deeper in the free school community. So there's over 60 hours of free content available in there. I'd say if you're somebody who's done over 100 approaches and you're not happy with the results right now, then don't keep doing what you're doing and expecting different results. The best advice that I can give you, start recording the audio of your conversations. Get yourself a point of reference. Find out how long you're speaking with these women for. Are you seeding the dates during the conversation? Are you building emotional investment by saying, the reason why I do this, finding out her why, finding out who she is beneath the beauty? Because there's always things to be improved, right? Just because you've done over 100 approaches, don't think that you've made it, right? The 100 approaches, those are just batting practice, right? You've got yourself into the game, congratulations. But now we want to start having conversations that convert into dates, because that's the reason why you're fucking doing this, right? You don't want to just be going out there every weekend, essentially lying to yourself, saying to yourself, oh, well, I'm making progress. I did more approaches this week. Oh, I got more phone numbers. But if the numbers are not converting, then there are clearly bottlenecks in what you're doing. So don't keep doing the same thing, hoping for different results. There's a multitude of things that you can fix. So yeah, start recording the audio of your conversations. First link below this video, access all my free content inside the free school community. And I will speak with you again tomorrow. Oh yeah, if you enjoyed this live stream, if it's been useful, feel free to drop it a like as well. All right, bye.